In spite of the tremendously hot summer we've been having so far, it's actually been a pretty banner year when it comes to tomatoes. As I post this video, we've harvested about 450 pounds so far. Now obviously, a family of 3 isn't going to be able to eat 450 pounds of raw fresh tomatoes over the course of 2 or 3 months. So what this has meant is I've been doing an absolute ton of tomato processing recently. This is where you briefly dunk the tomatoes in a pot of boiling water to get the skins to release, remove the skins, and then open up the tomato to get the seeds out. Not only is this process very time-consuming, it is brain-crushingly tedious. I knew this year, with so many tomatoes coming in, I was going to need to boost my processing efficiency by quite a bit. So I broke down and finally bought a tomato strainer. I ordered this through Amazon, and it cost about $140 shipped. Here's everything that comes in the box. So what I'm going to do next is provide a more or less real-time walkthrough of assembly, just to show how quick and simple that really is, and then provide a little bit of a review because, well, I'm glad I got this. There are a few really annoying design flaws that I think people should know about in case they're on the fence about buying one of these. The way it works is super simple. This red auger in my right hand, that draws the tomatoes or tomato pieces through the narrow metal sieve here, and in doing so it extrudes the tomato pulp and juice through the holes, and the seeds and skins just pass through into a waste chute. Alright, on to assembly. The first thing that we're going to want to do is use a little bit of olive oil to lubricate the gasket end of the drive shaft assembly here. You really want to do this because this tends to get stuck in the main body of the unit, and it can be really difficult to get out after a long session of straining tomatoes. This spring fits over the front end here of the shaft, and then that slides into the main unit as shown here. Next up, we're going to assemble the auger and sieve unit and then affix that to the body of the strainer. First, we need to put this silicone gasket here up under the rim at the wide end of the strainer. Do not lose this gasket. Without it, it won't work. The whole thing just doesn't work. It leaks absolutely everywhere, and it's hard to improvise a seal. Don't ask me how I know. Next, we just place the narrow end of the auger into the narrow end of the sieve. And then we work on lining up the auger with the drive shaft. Next, line up that tab on the strainer with the notch on the body, push it in place, and then rotate it counterclockwise to lock everything in place. Then you're going to want to tighten it up using that thumb screw. The plastic waste spout, as I'm calling it, I don't know if that's actually the official word for the part, clips on to the end of the strainer. Then we're going to affix the pulp spout, for lack of a better term, and the top cover here. You'll see how this all goes together in a moment. The cover downspout assembly is held in place with this wire clip here, and almost every time I try to put this thing together, I initially put this clip on backwards. Alright, now all that's left to do is slide the hopper into the body of the unit. And if you're wondering, I believe this hopper holds about a gallon of tomatoes. Once that's done, we insert the handle into the drive shaft, and that's it. Once your tomatoes are prepped, maybe cut into quarters or other chunks, it's time to get going. Here's the unit fully assembled, so now let's talk about some of what I consider to be some really irritating design flaws. First, the unit affixes to a flat surface via an integral suction cup that's activated by that white lever there. The problem is this system does not work very well at all. It'll hold firm at first, but as more tomato juice leaks down the bottom of the unit, and we'll get to that later, the suction cup will start to slide around, and in some cases has completely disengaged and caused the whole entire thing to fall over, spilling tomatoes everywhere. Now, alternatively, it does come with a C-clamp that fits in a notch at the base of the unit, and you can clamp it to the edge of a table, but you are limited to working from the edge of a table or counter, and that's a bit of an inhibition as far as I'm concerned. Next, at the junction of the main body of the unit and the bottom of the hopper, there's no kind of a seal. So when you put down pressure often on the tomatoes in there using that mallet you see in the background, it has caused a lot of juice to leak from the junction of the hopper and the main body of the unit. This is really messy. I find it to be tremendously annoying. Not quite a deal breaker, but it sucks. Same here with this handle. There's no way to lock the handle in place. So as you get cranking away, and you're being vigorous, as you need to be with especially low moisture tomatoes, this is going to continually pop out. It's maddening. And here's everything in action. A couple of notes. I find that perfectly ripe slicing tomatoes and perfectly ripe cherry tomatoes go right through the unit raw without a problem. You just might want to cut them into small chunks. However, low moisture sauce tomatoes, things like your Romas and San Marzanos and my favorite Rio Grandes, they are difficult to get through the workings of the machine completely raw. There's not a lot of moisture to lubricate the auger, and it's a real workout. So I recommend with those either freeze and thaw before running through the sieve, which will soften them first, or if you can run your oven in the summertime, which I really can't unless I want $1 million AC bill, roast them for a little while to soften them up as well. And here's what the unprocessed puree looks like coming out of the spout with the scraps, the seeds and skins in the background. I find that I can usually run the seeds and skins through the machine 2, maybe 3 times and wring a little extra pulp out of everything. So there you have it. In spite of the irritating flaws I pointed out, I'm really glad I got this. It's been a huge time saver. Obviously, if we want tomato chunks of any kind, you can't use this. But for making pureed sauces, it's a giant time saver. Next, it's just time to spend hours reducing your sauce down to the desired thickness. And that'll about do it for today. Thanks for watching, anyone who did. And until next time, of course, let's hope it all doesn't die.